Welcome to the Opt-in Podcast. I am your host, Melissa Franks, and this is where we go from surviving to thriving in business. This podcast is going to break down the 10 lessons that I have learned in the first 2 years of business for myself. It is October 23rd, 2025 when I am recording this, and we are just about at the 2-year mark for when this business started. And for those of you that have not heard, the storied journey of how On Call COO came to be, I'm going to give you a quick snapshot just to catch you up so that we can really dive into the 10 things. So here we go. This podcast, the Opt-in Podcast, started in December of 2022, just months after I had left the corporate world. Why didn't it start before that? I wasn't allowed to have a podcast. I was pretty handcuffed inside of that C-suite. And the first thing that I did when I came out was said, I'm going to start this podcast. I'm going to share what I know. I'm going to spill all the secrets. We're going to do all the things. And so for the first year of the podcast was really focused around spilling all of the secrets from the C-suite and helping people be as successful as possible in a capitalistic marketplace. I told all sorts of stories. I demystified a whole bunch of stuff. And then in October of 2023, the startup that I was working for at the time failed. And I went from having this really exciting job where we were building this great tech platform and we were going to disrupt the industry to being unemployed and had no prospects and didn't know what she was going to do, was a single mom with 3 kids, needed to feed them. It was kind of a mess, to be honest. And literally with my back up against the wall, I said, well, what can I do? What am I good at? I'm really good at being a COO. So how can I take that and monetize it? Now, of course, the logical next progression was to go find another job as a COO somewhere. The reality is, which I'd spent a whole last year talking about on the podcast, was it takes a C-suite executive anywhere from 18 to 36 months to find a new gig when they lose the one they had. Frightening, right? That's just because there's not a lot of them. The higher you go up the professional hierarchy, the less opportunity there is. And it all becomes who knows who and who refers who to who and how all that stuff happens. So I knew that I was pretty far out from that being a reality. And so I looked for the next best thing. Luckily, I had a friend that needed some help with her business at the time. And November 1st, opened up my first business bank account and signed a contract with my very first client. And as they say, the rest is history. Well, I wish that it was really as easy as all of that. In fact, the next 18 months of the business were challenging. It was a really big struggle. In fact, the business didn't actually hit its stride until second quarter of 2025. That's a long time. We founded in the fourth quarter of 2023, and I didn't hit a stride until the second quarter of 2025, and my livelihood was depending upon it. It's kind of frightening at this point to think back to then and realize how long I was kind of bumping around in the dark before things finally started to click. Now, what the future version of me is going to tell you is that period of time between when I had no clue what I was doing and things started to work was incredibly short and condensed. That the future me, the me from 10 years from now, is going to tell you that was an incredibly short window. And the reason that I was able to keep it as short as I was because I had decades of experience behind me telling me how to build and grow things. Because I knew what to do, I just needed to apply all of that expertise and knowledge to the thing I was building for myself. And it took me a while to have the confidence to do that. That's why I want to run through these 10 things for you today, because if you are here because you own a business or you're here because you're thinking about starting your own business, I want you to take it from me. I want you to take it from somebody that is still in the thick of it. I'm only 2 years in to a lifetime journey at this point. I'm not sure where I'm going. That's going to be one of the tips, by the way. I do know that I have figured a few things out, and so maybe the lessons that I have learned can help you either move right past them, not make them at all, or at least feel a little bit better about the stage that you're in. You tracking? So as I mentioned, we went from October of 2023, when I had no clue what I was doing, to today, where we have a 7-figure business and a team of 12. Maybe it's more than that now. I'm not really sure. We are actively interviewing for a lot of roles simultaneously, where we have lots of proposals out and lots of prospects, and the world is a little bit of our oyster and opportunity is abundant. And for the first time, just recently, I was able to pick my head up and dream big and say, where is this going? What's the intention? What are we trying to achieve? Where am I taking the train? And so in order for you to get there too, let's kind of walk through the lessons that I learned. Lesson number 1 is you always start clueless. Always. You do not know what you do not know. You think you know everything. You actually know nothing. You are clueless. And this looks like a few things. It can look like being paralyzed and being unable to take an action or a movement. It can be uncertain in your capabilities. It can be self-doubt. It can also be bravado. It can be a little bit of an ego that's probably too big for your circumstance. It can be overconfidence. The reality is that you just don't know jack. You don't know anything. And that's because you haven't done anything. If I think back to myself 2 years ago, there was this little seed of a thought that at some point, and I believe 2021, somebody had said to me, you might want to consider fractional work. Now, here's what's interesting, that I had no idea what that was. Somebody had said something to me and I was like, what does it even mean? Because my frame of reference was Fortune 500 corporation, multinational corporation. There wasn't fractions of anything anywhere. There was just big and expensive and invested and lifetime. And so that seed was planted in 2021 and I kind of brushed it off. I was like, I don't even know, whatever. Like, I don't know what you're talking about. And then I was in 2022, I was in an executive coaching program, and one of the women was an interim chief people officer. I'm like, oh, that's interesting. She basically fills in when there's a vacancy until they hire somebody permanent. And she did it part-time, aka fractional. So that was really interesting. I was like, I didn't even know that existed. I didn't know that you could be hired temporarily to do something. So then I kind of took that idea and I said, you know what I'd love to do is I'd love to go work for private equity. I would love to go work for private equity because they place, COO inside of a business for 3 years and then it exits and then you start over. I'm like, that sounds super cool. I can go build stuff and then get rid of it and then go build something else. What I love to do. That's how I built my career. And so all of these thoughts started to jumble together. 2021, have you thought about fractional? 2022, this interim thing. That was when the PE stuff started, like everything kept going. And then all of a sudden we got to October of 2023 and I was like, what am I going to do? And then all of those thoughts congealed together. Oh, well, I just need to go be a part-time COO for a business that needs it and not in the private equity space. What does private equity do? They buy small businesses. So that tracks that probably small businesses need a fractional COO. That's literally how I built the business platform. That was it. That was the strategy. That was how I connected all of the context clues to get to where I was. I had no evidence or proof. Friends, I did not even go to the internet to look and see if it existed. I didn't try to Google fractional COOs. I didn't even look for a definition. I figured it's a thing. People have been talking about it. It's got to exist. People have got to want it, right? Clueless. This is not the way that you start a business. I started this thing without any research. I had no idea how to price anything. Literally hot mess express. And that's where all of you are. So if you started your business that way, or you're in the midst of it, or you're considering doing something and you know that that's your reality, you're in good company, friends. We all start out there, all of us. The next thing that I did, so the next lesson that I learned was that you need to find the helpers. Once you realize you're clueless, which I realized it relatively quickly, I got very lucky that there was somebody inside of my warm network that needed immediate help, so I had a client. But I knew I needed to find the helpers. I knew that I didn't actually know what I was talking about. I knew I didn't know where to find these clients. I didn't know how to talk to them. I didn't know how to position this thing that maybe did or didn't exist, and maybe people did or didn't know about it. Like I found the helpers. And so then what I did is I went out and I said, well, what skills do I need to acquire? What rooms do I need to be in? How can I fast track this to a place of viability? What does that look like? And for me, at the time, my decision was that the next right move was to take some of the limited cash I had available and enter into another training program that also had a mastermind associated with it. And that did two things. It fast-tracked skill acquisition, and it got me into a room with people more successful than I was at small business. Now, I want to be really, really clear about this because I was successful. I had decades of business experience. It was not that I was like a brand new baby in the business space and I didn't know what I was doing. It wasn't like I was an educator that decided to start a small business. No. I was a seasoned veteran of business. What I didn't know was how to start a small business for small business owners. And who I didn't know was small business owners. I knew lots of corporate people. I knew lots of lifetime corporate people. I didn't know any entrepreneurs. Heck, I didn't even have, you'll hear like Cody Sanchez or Alex Hormozy or some of these other leading thought leaders in the small business space tell you that, especially young children, Gary Vee also does this, that if you want to start a business, if you want to create an enterprise, if you want to do some things, and you don't have anybody in your life, family members, friends of your parents, etc., that are doing the thing that you want to do, then go walk around your neighborhood until you find them. Well, my neighborhood didn't have entrepreneurs. They didn't exist. Like, it just was not, I grew up in suburban America, like literally what I wanted to do was not a reality. In fact, I was already a weird anomaly for having this big corporate global C-suite job in a Fortune 500 company living where I was. Like square peg, round hole. Like, it just did not work. So in my context of my day-to-day life, I had nobody to go to. And so I bought my entry into a room with people that had already done what I was trying to do. And I bought training to teach me the skills I didn't have. And as insane as that decision seemed at the time, that I first realized lesson number 1 that I was clueless, and then lesson number 2, I went and I found the helpers. As insane as that seemed at the time, that decision, that singular decision, is the difference between me having the business that I have today and me losing everything. Wild, right? That one decision that I made relatively quickly without a lot of research. It was based on gut instinct and my knowing that I could not walk the path alone. So your lesson number 2 is to find the helpers. Lesson number 3 is try everything until something works. Because you were clueless and because you are getting advice from helpers, you're also going to get a variety of advice, and then you're going to have your own ideas, and then you're going to go do research, and before you know it, you're going to have a whole whiteboard or a big long list of all of the things that potentially you could do to get the business off the ground, to get more clients, to earn more money, to fill in the blank. And until it works, it doesn't. And so what that means is you try everything until it works. Everything. And for me, that was all sorts of things. It was posting on LinkedIn all of the time to try to tap my warm network. It was messaging my followers on LinkedIn, or however you want to, my connections on LinkedIn, and seeing if they had anybody that I could talk to. It was me scheduling virtual coffee conversations with people I hadn't talked to in over a decade who might potentially have a connection to the small business space where a client might exist. It was me researching tools that could automate cold reach out and lead gen, which I didn't even know how to do, and I hated talking to people. It was hosting masterclasses that nobody attended. It was running advertising that didn't work. It was trying to generate an email list that nobody wanted to get on. It was writing blog posts and trying to sell challenges that nobody wanted to attend. It was like all of this stuff. It was me talking to parents at baseball games, hoping that maybe they knew a small business locally that needed some help. I literally tried anything that somebody suggested to get me over the hump. to get something to work, to get the machine flowing. I entered into partnerships with other consulting agencies that would land me clients. I got on other people's email lists so that when they had job offers, I would see them. I tried everything. And the one thing that I want to say to you with this tip number 3, which is try everything until something works, is that it wasn't try it once and then keep moving. It was try it until you have proof that it's not working. And so what that looks like is it looks like 15 masterclasses nobody attended before I threw in the towel. What that looks like is 25 different freebies that I ran paid advertising to before I found the one that has added thousands of people to my email list. What that looks like is talking to everybody in my network just for me to realize that everybody I'm connected to on LinkedIn is lifetime corporate people that aren't going to be able to help me. Trying everything until something works means that I went and found more helpers, I acquired more skills, I asked for more help, and then eventually I found the right helper to turn what I was attempting to do in paid advertising into something that actually worked. And then I stopped trying everything. As soon as you find the thing that works, you stop. And that's what you do. And you do it, and you do it, and you do it until it stops working. You do it until you have to stop doing it because you're so overwhelmed by demand. You have to do it until something else breaks in your business and you have to fix that before you can do it some more. You stop trying everything as soon as one thing begins to work. For me and my business, that was paid advertising. As soon as paid advertising started to work, I stopped trying to host masterclasses. I stopped trying to offer free trainings. I stopped it all because I didn't need to get distracted from the one thing that was working. Number 4, just keep going. Or as Dory said in Finding Nemo, just keep swimming. Don't give up. It's tempting. It is lonely. And it is frustrating, and it is soul crushing, and it's humiliating sometimes. Do not give up. Success is on the other side of struggle. You will come out better than you went in if you keep trying. Number 5, know where you are going and be open to changing it. Now, this lesson I learned over and over and over again. And here's what I mean. In October of 2023, where I was going was to get enough money in the bank every month to be able to care for my family. That's where I was going. My line of sight was a very specific number, and if I get this much money, I'm going to be okay. That was it. That's where I wanted to go. And then, once that immediate pain point was solved for, then the next place I was going, this is what I defined in April of 2024, was get my plate totally full. I'm going to be a single shingle. I am going to take all the clients that I can until my plate is full. And then when my plate is full, I'm good until a client moves on, and then I have some more capacity. I knew where I was going. My plate wasn't full in April of 2024, so that's cool. I kept trudging along. And then in November-ish of 2024, when ads started to work and I had some client turnover and some other things, I was still headed to the plate full with a caveat. Plate full with aligned clients, which means I want to be able to choose who I work with. I want enough demand to where I can be exclusive. And then all of a sudden in April of 2025, the goal changed, where I was headed changed. And this was to be able to harness the demand that was coming in and be able to give it qualified people that could help them because I couldn't clone myself. And now here we sit in October of 2025, and I will tell you that I have this massively big, audacious goal I'm not yet ready to talk about on this podcast. And it's so much bigger than anything that I could have ever imagined. And when I look back to where I was 2 years ago, I'm like, that is hilarious. That girl would have laughed you out of the room. She would have told you that you were ridiculous and that you were overshooting, and that you're going to miss the shot every time, and like she would have talked you off a ledge. And now that goal, I have said it out loud to a variety of people. Nobody's laughing at me. Everybody's lining up behind me to see it happen. And what that tells you is that as you build credibility, as you find the thing that works and you do more of it, your destination will change, and you need to be open to it changing. Unless you are in a situation where you are like, this is the destination I'm going to get at, and then I'm going to stop doing anything else once I get here, which I know you all are not because you're entrepreneurs and you're adrenaline junkies, you need to be open to the possibility that your destination is going to change. For me, it's incredibly exciting that my destination is going to change, because if I had kept my destination where it was originally, which was I just need enough money so that we could survive, all we would be doing today is surviving. Friends, we are thriving. That is the understatement of the year. This world that we have built and that I am living in, and the success that we are having, the milestones that we are hitting, are things I never thought possible. I had told myself it would never happen for me. And yet here it is. And the reason that it's here, and the reason I can now dream so much bigger than I had ever possibly considered, is because I continued to chart my course and change my destination as additional information and evidence presented itself. Number 6, this one is important. Experience the losses and do not wallow. Along the way, I had some kick in the teeth moments. When I lost my first client and I had no new clients coming in, that sucked a lot. And I knew it was coming. I was not surprised. When I got what I thought was my first whale, and they ended up signing a year contract and then ending the contract a month later, that sucked. I had finally thought that I had crested over the hump, that things were going to be okay, only for me to go back to a place of uncertainty, right? And so what I mean by experience it, but do not wallow, is that give yourself a beat. You get to have emotions about setbacks and disappointments. You get to process it. It's okay. And you have to move on. You can't sit in it. You can't wallow in it. You can't be consumed and inundated by these toxic thoughts and self-doubt. What you can do is you can process the emotions, and then you can look at it objectively and say, what can I learn? And every single time I have had one of those moments, and I have had those moments my whole career. So this ninja move, this lesson is one I mastered well before I became an entrepreneur. It is as soon as I can process the emotions and I can give myself some time and space and I can look back at it, I can always learn something. Always. Sometimes I made the wrong choice about who to partner with or who to trust. Sometimes I got to take accountability because I behaved badly. Sometimes I doubted myself so much that I overcommitted myself and devalued the entire thing. I could go on and on and on and on, but every time you suffer a loss, you want to feel the emotions, set it aside, and then go back and learn from it so that you don't have it happen again. Experience a loss, don't wallow in it. Number 7, ignore the critics. Other people's opinions of you do not matter. This is a lesson that I learned in my 20s. I'm nowhere near my 20s anymore. As a young woman in technology who then pivoted into financial services, I was an outlier. I did not belong. Not only that, I went to school to become an English teacher. So I had no STEM background. I had no business background. I went to a teeny tiny state school that basically pumped out educators and nurses, 70% women at the time. I had no business being in technology. I had no business being in financial services. And sure as heck, I had no business being in the C-suite if you looked at my pedigree. However, I had the skills. I had the intelligence. I had the emotional intelligence. I had the political savvy, negotiation, and communication skills to take myself from an administrative assistant to C-suite executive inside of a technology company. I did not do that by having BFFs at every rung of the ladder. I did that by having a whole bunch of haters that were trying to pull me down all of the time. Just the other day, I told a story about how when I got to the C-suite, I was attacked on a revolving door basis. Y'all think that you get into the C-suite and those people are safe, and the truth is that you are alone and everybody is out to get you. And I would have never been successful there if I had paid attention to what people were saying about me. That is exactly why when I started my own business and I could see people on LinkedIn on a daily basis looking at my profile and trying to figure out what was going on and trying to connect the dots. I can see y'all. If you are snooping around on LinkedIn and you think that people don't know, guess what? Spoiler alert, here's your extra advice today. They can see, they know who's snooping. It was fuel for me. I was like, watch me. Go ahead. Pop your popcorn and watch me. Because I'd gotten to the place where their opinions did not matter and their attention fueled me. So if you are listening to the critics, it is getting in your way. It is slowing you down. It is creating self-doubt. You need to find a way to ignore what they are saying and take the attention as fuel to create momentum and results. My 20-something-year-old self is teaching you that lesson. Number 7, stop lying to yourself. Just stop it. The words that you hear most often are the ones that you speak to yourself. And if the words that you are using to speak to yourself are not true or are mean or are hurtful, all you are doing is damaging yourself. Stop lying to yourself. You need to be truthful, whatever that means. Perhaps you're lying to yourself believing something is going to work that very clearly is not. Perhaps that you're lying to yourself that something shouldn't be this hard. Perhaps you're lying to yourself that the people in your life support you. I don't know what lies you're telling to yourself, but you have to stop it. When I got real honest with my situation, I got very, very humble at the same time. When I got very clear that my network was not going to be the solution to my unemployment problems. When I got very, very clear that nobody wanted a free masterclass or a freebie to solve their problems. They wanted real help. My business began to grow. You lie to yourself day in and day out, and all of those lies get in your way. They distract you from the appropriate course of action. Whether you're lying about relationships, you're lying about your business, you're lying about the results that you're seeing, it doesn't matter. We all lie to ourselves all the time. And as soon as you can identify what you're lying to yourself about and what the actual truth is, you'll be able to move forward. Number 9, celebrate every win, every single one, even the little ones. I started this celebration approach, and everybody, y'all, we're all motivated by different things. But I started this approach when I left corporate. And I was in a place, and this is for another day, but I was in a place in my personal life where I was not in control of our finances, even though I made all of the money. And what that meant is that I generally sacrificed the most so that I could pay bills and put food on the table. When I went to the startup, I was making more money than I had ever made before in my life. And I decided that I was going to carve out just a little bit of something so that I could memorialize the achievement that I had with something that I considered luxurious, whatever that meant. And so when I left corporate and I got that first paycheck from the startup job, I bought myself a luxury handbag. I had never had one before, ever. And it, to me, felt almost like an indecent purchase because I took a little bit of money and I got myself something that was going to provide me an immense level of joy. And from that moment on, every time I have a win of some kind, be it something small or something large, I purchase something for myself to memorialize the moment. There are things that have happened in my personal life where I have purchased something for myself that I see every single day, and it reminds me exactly of that point in time and the win that I had. You'll learn about that in a book one day. Every client that we onboard to the company, after they've been with us for 30 days, I carve something out for myself in celebration of that growth. We just hit a really massive milestone in the business, and then like a second milestone came right behind it like days later. So I haven't figured that out yet, but those will also be celebrated. And really for me, the celebration of the wins is because I have family and friends in my personal life that care about me, but I don't currently have a partner in the business or a partner in my life where I can be like, that amazing thing just really happened. Like, let's go do something amazing to celebrate it. That's just not my reality. And so what I can do is make up for lost time in the decades that I lost celebrating any wins at all. And I do that through investing in things that give me joy. Just recently, it was actually a birthday present to myself. It didn't have anything to do with celebrating the wins, but after a lot of angst, and a friend of mine is having the exact same angst right now, and she just made me chuckle so much. After having a lot of angst about it, I purchased my first espresso machine. I know this sounds very silly, but I love coffee. And every time I walk into the kitchen and I see it, even if I haven't had a drink out of it for the day, it just brings me so much joy. And that very first after lunch latte that I was able to make for myself in my house, I will never forget that. It's those moments that's the celebration of the win. That to me was just a moment of, this is how you care for yourself. So celebrate your wins in whichever way it means, but make sure that you cherish and celebrate all of them, because they were hard fought, they were hard won, and you deserve the recognition. And the last one, and this is where I'm going to close, I could probably give you another 7,000 lessons, but I said 10, so this is where I'm going to close, is it's okay to go dark. We live in this world where it appears that everybody knows everything about everybody because there's a social media situation going on, and it's just not true. It's all curated. Everybody decides what they want to share and how they want to do it and what they want to expose and what they don't. And there's a whole bunch of stuff that nobody's ever showing you that's actually happening in real life, and everybody's much more concerned about themselves than they are about you. It's okay if you're in the middle of building to just be in the middle of building. You don't need to be your own documentarian and share it publicly. You don't need to put on a happy face when things are really frustrating. You don't need to expose yourself to critique and criticism if you're not ready to receive it. And I quietly built my business. In fact, when I made the shift from single shingle to where we are now, I didn't tell anybody. I didn't tell anybody until after it happened. People that were incredibly close to me that I talked to all of the time, nobody knew until one day I said, oh yeah, I just hired 3 people. Oh yeah, we're now at a team of 10. Oh yeah, I just hired 2 employees for the first time. That happened here in the 3rd quarter. Nobody knew. And that's okay, because you don't owe Joe Public or Jen Public everything. You get to decide what you share and when you share. And if you're in a phase where you need to be heads down and focused, go dark. The world's going to be there when you're ready. But if you can't handle the world, or the world is not a priority, or it is distracting you, then just stay in your house. Now, I'm only 2 years in. So year 3, I'm sure, is going to bring a whole bunch of new lessons that I'm not even expecting. And what I know to be true is that where I sit today will not be where I sit tomorrow. It will not be where I sit a year from now. I hope that if you are on your entrepreneurial journey, or you're considering it, or you're supporting somebody that is, that these lessons are helpful to you, if nothing else, to know that you are not alone, that all of this is completely normal, and this too shall pass, whatever it is. Until next time, friends, please know that you are wise and you are strong and you are capable, and I believe in you.